And good evening. The sun is setting, gives me a good color. A little while ago, I was actually checking on reviewing one of my old videos for errata, and right below is shoestring. It's Gone Again is his name, but that was actually the second video. Well, anyway, and it says like 280 comments, but when you look in there, you can see that Mr. Gone Again has sanitized about 250 of them. They're gone. Kind of sounds like me. Kind of sounds kind of picky about people who don't agree. But one guy who had commented about 3 weeks ago, because I never really thought about the etymology of the word hobo. So I suggested an alternative to what Thomas Cross, please, it's better when it's fresh in my memory, Thomas Cross, and you push newest, it'll bring you up the ones that were only done like 3 weeks ago or so. And he suggested as an etymological explanation was that after the Civil War, it's the war between the states, that no educated person really uses Civil War anymore because it was the war between the states. Okay. Please, I just noticed, I have a real high, this is around the point, keyword orphan trains. Please pay attention. I can actually tell a lot of people actually have a very high retention rate, especially in the first 3 minutes. And he was suggesting that boys from up north would jump on trains carrying a hoe. Now, to chop cotton and do stuff like that, it took really a grubbing hoe, which is quite heavy and often was fairly short-handled. These things run about 20 pounds. Because that's what, if you're about the only unskilled labor, you can be easily trained to chop down, put a little chop right, under that weed, pull it back, but not those. Those are the cotton plants. It's called chopping cotton. I knew a black dude, Carl Hassan, became president of the Bryan Independent School District, and as a kid, he had been hired to chop cotton, and he went out there and started chopping the cotton. I mean, not the weeds. He literally was chopping the cotton. So I read this guy's proposed etymology. I don't know. I don't really care about hobos. I don't find hobos romantic. I never have, had any desire to jump on a train and possibly end up in fucking jail. I just don't. I'm sorry. You people watch too many movies. You live in that Walter Mitty. You got that Walter Mitty syndrome going on. And so I suggested an alternative. Almost none of you know about the orphan trains. New York City, oh, sweet, wonderful. They're taking care of all this. It's illegal to be homeless there. They're taking care of all those fake asylum seekers and stuff, housing them in the hotels and everything. And oh wait, the mayor just got through kicking a bunch of them out. After the war between the states, the good people of New York City put 250,000 children. I knew one of the final ones. She lived to be 100 years. Think about it. She was a tiny baby. That's why she was the last on the train when she got to Central Texas. All that was left was like one little, hey, they left a baby in the truck, boxcar. Let's take it home. She ended up living right close to me, like 3-4 miles away from me. And I spoke to her children too. And so, since most of these hoe, he claimed it was from hoe, grubbing hoe, chopping hoe, hoe boys were hobos, and I proposed an alternative etymology was that most of these children were not just orphans of war. How do you lose both parents, or does one parent become what we call a hoe? So I propose hoe boys, the sons of hoes, is probably the true meaning of hobos. I hope you've enjoyed this brief video, and now I'm going to go do an etymological search to see if there's any basis for it. To tell you the truth, I may go by my etymology based on what I know, and I mainly made this to educate people in England and Australia about how cold-blooded people see. We left the North. We didn't like people that were coming in after us. We had come in, my mother's family, in the early 1600s. As a matter of fact, oh gosh, there's evidence coming up is that the colony that we came in with, or the adjoining ship, because it was more than one ship, and they're claiming up in Maine, 1607 was actually the first Thanksgiving, and my family was a part of it. My mother's section of my mother's family was a part of that. So, is it ho boys or ho boys? You know what I'm saying? Pimp daddy. What did those guys that were drafted put into servitude by your great Abraham Lincoln? Oh, rich boys could buy them somebody to fill their place for $300. Could buy their way out of the draft, out of the first. That's actually, I think, one of my reasons my father's people left Germany was to escape conscription from the Kaiser. So, who's right? A bunch of guys living up north, getting out and adventurously riding the rails and going down looking for a few days' work. Do you know what the labor? Well, anyway, chopping cotton was with a hoe, with no skills, no agricultural skills, and yet there were documented 250,000, mostly children of prostitutes, sent into the South and given as free labor to replace the Negroes that were now free. And they actually were creating a competition about people, between whites and the blacks. You really have no idea what happened after the Civil War. Oh, I slipped. It's war between the states. There was, I may go 10 minutes, of the region around the original colony. I read several doctoral papers of first-hand collections of what was going on. And it's really fascinating. They actually, like, there's one in my Texas hometown, first hometown. There's one street named Buffalo Street. It's Buffalo used to come through, but it's also Buffalo Soldiers. And across the Brazos River in Brazos County in Bryan, they headquartered a bunch of their troops there too, black troops. I think I can remember this rhyme. Oh, they'd get them drunk and get them dressed up in their dress uniforms, and they would march all around town, agitating. Let me see, remember one of the chants was, Lincoln rode the big black horse and Davis rode the mule. Lincoln was the hero and Davis was the fool, except in a black voice. There was the Milliken riots. There's been all this kind of history that's been suppressed because, the victor gets the right to history. There are things you might want to, because I'm one of the few people that's read it. No, it's real. I just mentioned Carl Hassan. He's a black Muslim, Hebrew, Israelite, Christian type. He's a black supremacist. He slowly worked his way in and became president of the Bryan Independent School District. That's a fact. You can look it up. Carl, Chasan. He may still be alive. And after I told him about it, stuff like that, he looked it up, and yeah, it's true. So who's the real hobos? Hard-working Yankees going south to the people that... I don't think so. I'm pretty sure right now it is my well-considered and educated guess that the etymology of hobo comes from poor boys. Do you think, how expensive a real good grubbing hoe is? Back in the day, you know how many days' labor and saving beyond providing for your own clothing and sustenance that it would take to purchase a grubbing hoe? Most of you don't even know what a grubbing hoe is. Anyway, the etymology of the word hobo, my opinion, as at present, open to any corrections. Go ahead. I kind of like my version. Sons of whores. Same in Spanish. Hijo. They're not saying that. When they say up north. See, this is where I'm developing the etymology. When I first went to Maine, you son of a hoa. Listen to the way I'm saying it. This is a standard. And you would be right almost all the time. Prostitution was like big time. They had a whorehouse operating until about 1970 right in downtown Bangor, Maine. Big red brick building now used to house seniors and disabled. You son of a hoa. Whore. Hoa. You son of a hobo. Get where I'm going? Language. I think I've developed my own etymology on this. I think I know where it comes from. Sometimes I don't want to read somebody who has a bias, because the guy who wrote the Ho Boys thing wasn't considering price of the hoe, difficulty in getting there, and the fact that they were not going to be welcome when they came there, no matter how hard they worked. You know what I'm saying? That's it. Stopping at 1333.